Hello, friends. Host Eric here with Amber, and we're going to talk a little bit about ISFJs because I started pushing record, she and I were chatting about various ISFJs in our life and the silly things they do. Her mother being an ISFJ, and of course, Kimberly being an ISFJ. So, the first of these silly things that they do is they have this notion that every object that they own will someday be useful, even if it's not useful right now. And it could be the lid to some container or something, right? And they go, well, it's true that the bottom of this container broke, but someday I might find at a yard sale or something an equivalent sized bottom, and then I'll need this lid. This is one of the strange things they do. Okay, so you say your mom did this with QVC. Kimberly is also uses QVC occasionally. She's not a huge QVCer, but we did buy a Christmas present on QVC for my parents, the Ring doorbell system thing. Anyway, where did you put all the stuff? Did you use it all?
Oh, well, it's weird because it would be like repeatedly buying full sets of dishes because like the color was nice or like it's in the style she really liked from when she was a kid. But I honestly don't know where any of it ended up. I'm sure we've got at least like 4 full dish sets somewhere.
Well, Kimberly in her first marriage was married very well, and the guy was very wealthy, and is still very very wealthy, and she could basically buy what she wanted. We were talking earlier today, and she was describing how she's effectively moderated her shopping habits by putting things in her cart, walking around the store with them, and then taking them out of the cart and putting them back on the shelf. As she narrows, she builds a pile in the cart, and then she whittles it down to a few things. She says she gets the same rush that she would if she actually bought them without the remorse. And especially, she'll spend a long ass time in the store. And one thing that always frustrates her is when I rush her in the store. Personally, I can't wait to get out of the store. How are you about the store, INFJ?
I would prefer to get in and then leave. And my mother, shopping with my mother it's like would you quickly take me to the store? There's no such thing. There's absolutely no such thing.
When I want to go to the store and quickly go in and get something, I'll tell Kimberly, please stay in the car. Please stay here. Just let me just run in and get it. She's like, I promise I'm not gonna me. We come out with 6 things.
See, what I feel my job is when I go shopping with my mom is to try and stop her from buying unnecessary stuff. Because she'll pick something up and go, I know what I can do with this. I know. And then I'll have to explain, like the pineapple decor. Like, when? When have you ever, when will you ever buy a fresh pineapple?
Well,
It's,
let me explain to you what's going on in her head. Okay, she's envisioning herself in the kitchen, smiling. It's a sunny day. The sun's shining through. She's got a house full of guests, and what is she doing? She's putting pieces of pineapple on these lovely pineapple plates. Her kitchen's clean in her mind. Everything's all neat and tidy, and she puts them on and goes, "Oh my God, these pineapple plates are adorable." And in this
yeah.
daydream, she's just beaming at the glory of that these pineapple plates have afforded her. That's what's going on in her mind when she's thinking about buying these pineapple plates. I think that's my hypothesis.
That sounds that sounds true because when she does get something and it works, like especially if it's a family holiday or something, and she pulls something off. Well, she does this thing too where she checks in with people. Like you can tell what she's proud of.
How
You
you
can
doing?
tell like what she likes the best, and
How
she'll
was the
poke at
stuffing?
people. Like yeah, like was that good enough? Was the cake good? I just found that recipe. It's just she needs to know that the thing that she's most proud of went over well. And if people don't respond in kind, it ruins the whole day for her. She can't function.
How many hand rings per dish? Like 7 hand rings per dish. Oh, okay. So number 2 item I wanted to mention about ISPs we just barely touched on before we started the video is they have this odd affinity for useless decorative boxes. I have in the attic a, a section of the attic, a corner of the attic where I put all these empty storage containers. So Kimberly likes to buy storage containers to store things in. But historically, she's put like two things per large container, and then got more storage containers. So when we were going to, and by the time I was ready to move shit up into the attic in general, she was like, "Okay, so we're moving stuff around. But the first thing we need to go do is buy storage containers." I said, "Kimberly, we have a whole bunch of storage containers. You know that, right? And the only reason you think we need more storage containers is because you think that when one does this task, one buys storage containers because you always have in the past. And you need to be unaware of the fact that we have an abundance of storage containers. But that's not the decorative box thing. The decorative box is why now there's something else on the mantle. Look, there's something else on the mantle. What is it? It's a box.
The storage container thing is interesting because I've noticed I've thought about this a few times watching my mom after she comes home from shopping, and it seems like she's trying to find the perfect item that will somehow solve all of the problems of keeping something clean or organized.
Mm-hmm.
Like every time she finds like a new dish rack, like this is going to do something very important. I don't.
Does she say things like, "Now, when I finally get this place organized like I want it to"?
Yes. 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 Yes.
Completely oblivious to the fact that she's never going to get it organized like that because she's always going to be reorganizing it.
And bringing more stuff in. It's.
Mm-hmm. And
Well, another thing too. Somebody brought it up earlier. They asked the question in one of the live feeds: Is it SI to not want to do an experience that was negative once before?
correct.
And there are two foods that I've known my entire life my mother will never indulge in again. One is grasshopper malts, because apparently she drank so many when she was a kid she got sick. So like those are right out. She can't even handle mint. And the other one is euros. So if we're anywhere with a euro, she says it as though she's never told people before that she got food poisoning from euros, so she'll never trust another euro. I have probably heard that at least like hundreds of times throughout my life, that euros are bad. They're just,
Well,
you're going to get food
it's a
poisoning.
straight up associative thing, right? So
Yeah.
if you've got limited NE being ingested into you by some source, by a significant other or whatever, or you're just of a generation that typically isn't very self-reflective, much older than me. I don't know if your parents are older than me or not, but any much older than me, like 10 years older or so, it starts to get into a generation where they weren't really very self-reflective. So that they somehow are just more expressions of their functions, you know? And that's just like straight up. Every time I see this, I have the same association, and I just say the same thing, and nobody ever moves things along ideationally enough for me to jump out of that rut. It's totally SI dumb, you know. It's so yeah, it's true that they do that. They'll repeat things. Kimberly is pretty FB aware, such that she won't repeat it too many times.
There's something I noticed that Kimberly does that my mother also does, which is try to predict what I'm going to say. Like try to finish what I'm trying to say. And I've noticed that like my sisters and I and TJ, so her and I, we do that to each other all the time, and we don't even notice that we're doing it because it actually is kind of moving things along. But with my mother, it's extremely disruptive because she's usually wrong. And it's very frustrating. Like, please stop. I love you, but stop thinking you know what I'm going to say.
Right. Well, they're knowing types, like NI types, but unlike NI types, they are constantly predicting from previous instances. And so if you're an intuitive, you're probably moving away from those previous instances in one way or another, either seeking novelty, like an NE Dom, who's not going to repeat the same thing. As a matter of course, I'm not going to because I don't want to give other people the advantage of having heard the same thing again if there's any possibility of dispute, right? So if something went way X before, I'll intentionally make it look like it's going that way again, but then I'll shift it up to sort of break the associative link in general because I don't like being predictable or something. So that's going to run afoul of her approach to knowing things all the time. It's like constantly running afoul of it. But I think an NI-DOM as well is going to say, I'm intuitive so such that I'm going to be as an FE user as well. I'm going to be aware of your likelihood to predict, and I'm going to want to disrupt that in some way because I don't want to be predictable in that fashion. You think you have the same reaction to it I do?
A lot of times I don't know that I'm even aware of it. I just kind of glaze over it. Sometimes it is really annoying. I noticed when Kimberly was doing that to you, the reaction you had once when I saw it, it just hit me like, oh my god, my mom does that all the time.
Well, we have some fights where I say you need to stop knowing. You know, you need to let your other functions come into play. You know, I get that you're an SI dom, but that doesn't mean you can't go tertiary here, or it doesn't mean you can't go FE nice. You don't have to always use the FE stick on me. So you know, it does get frustrating, but that's just part of being with an ISFJ. Of course, as an INFJ, you probably think I wouldn't want to be with that type at all because it'd be too frustrating for you. For me, it doesn't really bother me. I don't know why, but the things that might bother me about her, they just don't really bother me.
I will say that I can't imagine a better mother.
Hmm.
I mean, she's the perfect mom.
Yeah, well. I mean, she's a perfect mom in terms of general caregiving. She's not a perfect mom in terms of words of affirmation or something like that.
Well,
She has her own attachment issues, and that's caused her. She grew up in an environment where people, frankly, didn't speak very kindly to each other, or nicely to each other, or affirmingly to each other. And I grew up in an environment where people did, and so I'm having to say to her, look, this is not. Well, we each have our different ways. Your way is fucked up and damaged, and my way is acceptable and right. And so you're gonna have to adjust to my way, and that's all there is to it. And what does that mean? Oh no, horrible thing. We're gonna have to speak kindly to each other and affirm each other rather than speak meanly to each other and negate each other. Yes, that's an acceptable like do it my way. If that's the alternatives, then that's the acceptable do it my way situation. When you agree, I mean, I think so. Regardless, let's get in a little off topic. Let me think if I can come up with a third main sort of ISFJ quirk to talk about besides we got a little off topic on the decorative boxes. The decorative boxes, the key thing to note about it, it's not just boxes. It's decorative shit, right?
knickknacks.
Yeah, well, it's stuff that doesn't serve any purpose other than decor, and it's not like a painting or something. Painting obviously is natural decor stuff, but I mean little objects they put on shelves. Like Kimberly has antique coffee cans and stuff on shelves up high in the kitchen. The shelves are too high to be useful for her, so they're decoration shelves. She has a theme, right? It's they're all antique cans, and then maybe she have one variant in the middle that's not a can but like a antique soda bottle or something, and then arrange it just so. And no, Eric, and I'm always the one doing it because it's up high. So no, move it a little bit to the left, a little bit. No, turn it a little bit. Okay, good, just like that. Perfect. I love it. So, can you think of a third one? Let me see if my any can come up here with something. But if in case it doesn't, you work on it too. Hmm.
I keep just thinking about how we now have a see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil set of frogs that I don't know where they came from, but they're now on a shelf downstairs.
Well, it helps you to see. It helps you to neither see, hear, nor taste evil, or whatever the third one is. See, hear. What is it? See,
Speak,
speak. Oh,
speak.
okay. That doesn't really go with
Taste
see or
evil. How
hear.
do you taste evil?
Well, but see or hear are receptive sensing things, and speak is totally different than see and hear. You shouldn't put those in the same. They're not parallel.
It's true.
I object to the lack of parallelism. Um, Okay, so the third thing I wanted to say is they can't do shit on their phone or help you with your phone at all. This is probably maybe true of INFJ too, but I bet you guys are a little better at it. When I'm driving, I can't ask him to, can you look this up on the phone? Guaranteed clusterfuck of disaster. She will just be like, all of a sudden she'll be trying to download some virus and I don't know what happened. I don't even bother asking her to help me with anything on the phone. It's safer for me to drive and do the shit on my phone at the same time than it is to hand her the phone because it's gonna cause a fight and she's gonna be I don't know what's up. I don't know how to do it. They can't do shit. They can't do shit with technology at all.
I will say that my mom's very good with directions if she's been somewhere. It's ridiculous. Her memory for how to get places. I don't have that. I get in the car, I'll envision where I'm trying to get, pull out of my driveway and turn the wrong direction. And I'll figure it out right away like oops, that's not right, but she'll talk over my GPS. So like my GPS will give me a direction and then she'll just repeat what the GPS said or assert some other direction. And I can't handle that. I can't drive with like numerous things trying to give me direction.
Well, what I'm talking about is more like I can't ask Kimberly to, for example, hey Kim, I want to listen to this live stream I made earlier in the car. Can you find that live stream and play it on YouTube on my phone? It would take her an hour if you were able to do it at all. There's no chance I would get that video playing in any sort of reasonable time. And that's not a difficult thing to do. You know, you go to the YouTube app. You look. I don't know which app. I don't know. It wouldn't work. So I mean, that's something I had to get used to because it used to be that I was in a relationship where if I'm driving, I would hand my significant other the phone and say, "Can you do this?" Because I'm driving. I can't do that with Kimberly. She just doesn't know how to do anything on the phone.
This has become quite the roast on ISFJs.
I mean, listen, no matter how much I roast them here in this video, I should stress that these are things that I frankly find adorable in Kimberly. I love the fact that she like comes up to me and goes, somebody said something critical on Facebook. Like, you know, she's pretty careful with her FE in terms of commenting on Facebook. She's in an ISFJ Facebook group. And sometimes somebody will get a little sassy with her or something. And she'll bring me the phone and she'll be like, ooh, what am I going to do? This is an easy one, baby. Just, I'll type something in there for, how about this? She'll go, no, I wouldn't quite say it like that. And I'll adjust it a little bit. Okay, how about that? Yes, perfect. And then we'll push post and she'll be very satisfied because instead of getting roasted, she turned it on him and did the roasting, you know? That's an example of her, something I find fantastic. As in any Dom, I want to be, any TI especially, I want to be permitted to do that. I want to be permitted to make arguments for her and do the talking for her when she gets flummoxed. And ISFJs do get flummoxed when asked to improvise ideationally or talking wise on their feet, I think. Would you agree with that, Amber?
Yeah. Oh yeah. At least in the two that I'm aware of that I know
Yeah.
up close.
Yeah, they don't necessarily do well on the fly. They always think that the FE matters. Sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. Like, um, I remember, like, I don't remember what exactly it was, but it was something like we put the trash cans out late, and the trashmen weren't able to pick them up as a consequence. They'd already passed by, and she wanted to call the trash company and like complain about it, and I was just like, that's not gonna fly. There's just zero chance that they're gonna listen to your complaint. Even I mean, we didn't have it out in time. It's entirely our fault. You can't expect them to turn around and come back for our trash cans. It's ridiculous, you know. But she was stomping her feet about it, and I don't know. I like that. I like her there are ways in which I am very childish and there are ways in which ISFJs are childish. And I think she likes the ways in which I'm childish, although sometimes she teases me about them and stuff. And I think I like the ways that she's childish. I think that's sort of what I've highlighted here. The ways in which ISFJs are kind of childish. Some of them are more overtly childish than others. Like they're having decorative boxes and stuff. You wouldn't call that childish. You'd call that momish. You know.
Yeah.
It's just kind of funny because it's stereotypical mom stuff, like ESTJ is stereotypical dad stuff. Um, but yeah, I obviously have a very warm spot in my heart for ISFJs. I just think it's funny the way they are, and my mom was one. I guess she still is one, but she's greatly diminished in capacity, so she's not really any type anymore per se. But my longtime friend Dave was one, and yeah, they're earnest, you know. They've got an earnest, earthy realness about them that I very much value.
Where do you see there being like a soft spot or a weak spot that can get seemingly like poked sometimes?
Well, I
Because
mean,
I've noticed there's two times that I see it. One is if, and I actually kind of share this one of wanting to be seen as intelligent,
mm-hmm.
and my mom will have that same weak spot where if she feels like she's not coming across intelligent or somebody else is coming across more intelligent than her, she needs reassurance that she also is smart.
Okay. Kimberly has a very strong sense of herself as being smart, but um, she seems to take it for granted that other people would agree with that. And she is quite savvy in a lot of ways. You know, she's very savvy, and at the same time, I guess you'd say naive, but like she's savvy if about people trying to take advantage of her. She's very savvy about that, and she's very uh, defensive or defense oriented. Like she doesn't. She's gonna probably jump to conclusions that somebody's trying to take advantage of her, even if they're not. So in that regard, she's kind of safe from being taken advantage of, despite being kind of naive in certain ways. Her naivety comes out in as presumption more than as vulnerability. It's like she doesn't sometimes get the way the world works. She'll prioritize, like I said, fe too much. But but she's not. She's certainly not dumb. And there's less times where she's, for example, much more observant than I am or smarter than I am about certain things, depending on the nature of the thing we're dealing with and what's required. And that's just how intelligence in the world works, I think. So it's a mistake to think any given type is dumb. And there are intellectuals of every type too, I think, as far as I can tell. I haven't really met any like ISFP intellectuals per se, or ESFP intellectuals maybe, but I met an ISTJ who was very bright the other day, and my dad certainly is very bright. And so there's no reason to presume that just because somebody has a certain cognitive function stack that they're not going to be smart.
No, definitely not. No, I wonder like where that her sensitivity in that comes from.
It's a third slot thing because that's their hidden agenda, and you know you and ISFJ both feel achievement when you attain logical consistency or defensibility of position, in
Mm-hmm.
addition to consensus or agreement. Because
Mm-hmm.
like your tool function is agreement, attaining agreement or attaining group acceptability or something, however else you want to call that thing. But your hidden agenda is to have it be defensible on logical universal ground so that it's defensible regardless of whether the FE is there. Just as for ENTP, ultimately, my hidden agenda is for it to be socially successful and for me to be popular or whatever, regardless of if the TI is there. It's just an instrumental goal. The TI can, if it's inconsistent, I don't care. Well, hey, look, I'm popular because of comedy. Okay, great. I don't care. I don't need it to be because of consistency or whatever. But I think ultimately the INFJ and ISFJ both would like to be perceived and feel a lot of achievement when they're perceived as competent because they got the. If you think about perceptual achievement as being comprised of two things, competence and warmth, then both the NFJ and SFJ introvert, they have the warmth thing down. Nobody's gonna think they're cold. I mean, they might think an INFJ is cool or detached, but I don't think they're gonna think they're cold or uncaring, right? So they got the warmth aspect down. It's the competence one that's potentially more of a risk. INFJ is more likely to be seen as competent, I think, than ISFJ. So ISFJ may have more of a evident reaching for it because INFJ has probably already attained it in more significant ways. What do you think about that?
I I can see coming across more competent. I got stuck on the being viewed as cold bit. My mom, I think, like with the ISFJs I know, they're definitely more consistently warm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think INFJs actually are warm. I think that they're perceived as adequately warm. In other words, that it's easy enough for them to FE up enough warmth to counter any perceptions of excessive coldness. It's easier for them
That's
to
cool.
make that perceptual change than it is to make sure everything is TI consistent. Just as it's easier for me to make things TI consistent than it is to manage the perceptions of others. So, but regardless, I do think INFJ is going to be more successful being perceived as competent because I think competence for ISFJ is going to be much more particularist in its definition. In other words, they're going to say, "Well, I'm a good hair cutter, and that's fine. That's all. That's good enough." You know, they don't need to be a character kind of achievement. They just need achievement they can point to in a concrete way. Whereas I think INFJ wants to be identified as an achievement in being, so to speak, as does ENTP ultimately, because of
Well,
that.
I know that when it comes to competence, part of that is I don't want to speak on something if I'm not confident I understand it. Or if there's somebody around that I'm pretty certain knows more than I do, I'll probably be more quiet. I don't like to risk seeming incompetent or having an idea I put forward just totally knocked to bits.
Right. If I were to ask you, this just made me that comment made me curious. If I were to ask you, where do you think I should improve on my FE? What would you tell me?
If you had to improve on your FE,
Like, how can I make my FE better? What would you say?
maybe be aware of the way you counter people, their points, because sometimes when you counter their point, you
No,
have,
no.
yeah, there's this almost dismissive, like you'd have to be an idiot to think that.
So that's your point, huh? Are you serious? That that pile of poo is your point? Oh my god.
But I do notice there seems to be a conscious effort to undo that. Like I think you note it occasionally, and will almost say the opposite of what you just said to bring it back around,
Right,
like level it
I'm
out.
trying to fix that sort of stuff in general. I was just curious because it would seem an area where you'd probably be particularly comfortable to speak. Like, if you were going to advise me on FE presentational stuff in general, besides just that particular, you could talk about anything you want, visuals or audio or whatever. What do you think? What would you advise?
What was the question again? Sorry.
Give me more FE advice, basically.
Give you more FE advice.
You know, or analysis or critique things that work well, things that don't work so well, what the difference is, compare, contrast, that kind of shit.
Well, with the channel, I don't know, even know if it would be FE. It would just be the accessibility of the information. I think like if I were to have a channel like this, I would try to make it more streamlined, like more holistic, kind of where
More in
I don't know how like because I mean there's a lot of great content and it you kind of have to sift through. It's like going to some sort of messy thrift store or something and like you can find amazing stuff, but you gotta really dig through, like a hoarder house, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's fair. Um, okay, interesting.
I don't know, like I when it comes to your FE, I see like a real effort being made, but there's something that personally I appreciate about it it being like a little less FE sometimes because I like the honesty. There's like something very trustworthy about it to me.
Hmm. Well, that's good. Good to hear. Um, yeah, I think I'll continue to hopefully polish it a bit. I think it sort of naturally polishes because I become less reactive as I experience things over and over again. It's part of being an SI user. One kind of reacts reflexively, or at least I did in the past, the beginning to certain kinds of comments that are more even if they're not trolly, they're not really worth responding to because they're just a bunch of negativity or something. I usually in the past kind of answer all those things. Now I might just be like, I'm not gonna waste my time, and it's just because of repetition. It's like it makes it. I am genuinely less. It becomes increasingly difficult to push my buttons the more I interact with people and the more different times people attempt to push my buttons. For another thing, I've got Kimberly. So you're not as good at it as she is, and she's trying to do it to me all the time. No matter who you are, you're not going to be as good at it as she is. So, so there's that. But the point being, with experience, I become less actually reflexive in my responses and more considered and more actually think of trying to do some other kind of response than just combative negation because just seeking novelty perhaps. Like I've done a lot of combative negation and would like to see what other kind of responses are going to do. So anyway, I got a little off topic here. Let's end this video. Thank you for your critiques. I found that interesting. Um, and I thought our conversation about ISFJ was interesting as well. Hopefully people enjoyed it. And next we're going to do, and this is why the lights are already on, because we've been making this person wait in the car the whole time while we've been doing this video. Uh, you know, we took a brief break. We have a good union, so we have pretty flexible break times from being on duty. We
Very
pulled the guy.
flexible.
We pulled the guy over. We told him to stay there. We came over here. We made this video as regular citizens, and now we're gonna go back on the job and we're gonna do this guy. Okay, so we'll be back with you in a little bit. Thanks for watching Talking with Famous People.